You're listening to Bigfoot Society, and I'm Jeremiah Byron. Tonight's story doesn't come from a seasoned Bigfoot hunter or an outdoorsman. It comes from Delaney, a woman who was just living her life in the Cottage Grove, Oregon area. Until one fateful morning, a massive Sasquatch left her breathless with terror. She didn't go looking for Bigfoot, but Bigfoot found her. And this is the story of a sighting that changed her life, so stay with us. All right, Bigfoot Society, you've got the privilege of talking to Delaney today. Delaney is a personal trainer that lives out there in Eugene, Oregon. So welcome to the show. How's it going today, Delaney?
Good. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. You know, you had, well, first off, I just want to say you're from one of my most favorite places in the U.S., which is Lane County, Oregon. We were just talking about that, especially awesome. Eastern Lane County. I mean, you guys have all the crazy Bigfoot stuff. You got Oakridge and Cottage Grove and all that good stuff. So I'm definitely excited to have you on the show today. Thank you for coming on. But, Delaney, I want to make sure that we have the time for you to share what it is that you experienced the one day. This is kind of definitely a unique encounter. I don't think I've had an interview that was presented to me like this when you reached out. So I'm going to say go ahead. Feel free to take us back to the day when you had this experience, and I'll let you take it from here.
Oh, okay. Thanks. Well, so in 2008, I was living in Cottage Grove with my boyfriend, and I should probably preface to this, like, I grew up in Beaverton, Oregon, so I grew up in a suburb of Portland. And so Bigfoot, like, to me I was pretty agnostic about the whole, subject. Like, it didn't affect my life one way or another, So saying that, like, in 2008, I was living in Cottage Grove, and I had an interview at the golf club. Now, Cottage Grove is south from Eugene, and I would say the one, major town between Eugene and Cottage Grove is Cresswell. And there, I-5 is this, like, major highway that runs, I think, from, I don't know, Alaska down to California or something. And so, and that goes, through, right along these towns from Eugene. And but there are parallel roads parallel I-5 that can get you from Cottage Grove to Cresswell. And I believe it's like the Dale Kunis Road, I think, but don't quote me on that. But there's a parallel road that you can take Roe River from Cottage Grove, parallel to I-5 north, and hit Cresswell. And so on that road was the golf club, which consists basically of like a driving range and 9 holes, right, in a clubhouse. And it was like on the east side of the road. And so I took, and the golf club was like across that 2-lane road, or the parking lot was across the 2-lane road. It was a gravel parking lot. And so I guess, and you can see on that parallel road and hear, like, you can see I-5 intermittently, and hear it definitely. And so I took that road and drove from Cottage Grove to the golf club. And it was probably it was late September, like early October. So it's 10:30 in the morning, and so there's still kind of like a haze before, like, it burned off, if you know what I mean. And I pulled into the gravel parking lot, and I'm in a Range Rover. Okay, so and my boyfriend at the time was a hunter, and so it was had racks on it, on the front, on the top. It was a kind of a beefed out car. The reason I'm saying this will come into play in a minute, but and so I pull into this gravel parking lot that's kind of pushed up on the knoll. So from the gravel parking lot, which only had a couple cars in it at that time in the morning, you can kind of look down onto the land that's between the road and I-5. And you can't really see I-5 from where I was in the parking lot, but you could kind of hear it. You could hear it, actually. But since it's pushed kind of up on a knoll, the parking lot, you could see people's, like, plots of land, that are gated, right? Like big yards. And I'm not just talking like a front yard. I'm talking like, I don't know, like half an acre or maybe an acre of yards and houses. And you could see the gate, on a couple of them. And you could see what I assume is a creek or some kind of water, like stream or something that would go from that road to, I assume, I-5, because there was a tree line that was, a bunch of what looked like fir trees or, big trees. So I assume there's like instant water there. And then on like the east side, like where the actual clubhouse was, it's like hills that are just trees all the way to Pleasant Valley or Pleasant Hill and then all the way to Oakridge. And so I'm getting out of it's like 10:30 in the morning, and I'm getting out of the Land Rover, and I have my resume in my hand because I'm going there for a job interview. If I told you that I'm going there for a job interview, that's also important. And I close the door behind me, and when you just kind of get out of your car and close the door and you sweep, your eyes just sweep across, as you turn or wherever you're going. Well, my eyes swept across, and there is this fir tree, what I thought was a fir tree, stand up. It doubled in size. And if it hadn't done that at that second, I would have never seen it. I would have never seen it because it was so well camouflaged. And so I remember seeing this thing like stand up, like I would say 9-10 feet. And it was probably about 50 to 70 yards away from me. And I just remember to this moment, I can remember my breath, like sucking in, like, like just like, what is that? That's what my mind was thinking, like so fast, like, what is that? Like, what the F is that? Because it was so massive. I didn't understand what I was seeing. I didn't get it. And this terror that I felt, I've been in a lot of scary situations in my life, some pretty life-threatening, but nothing compared. I've never felt that before then and never since then. This gut to the soul terror of like, what is that? Like, I didn't understand how something could be that big. And as I'm looking at it, and this is just probably nanoseconds, I don't even know, but it felt like a little longer like than that, like I see these arms like on each side of it, like hanging down pretty low. Like I would see to the knees or below maybe. And I remember that the fur on the outer was darker than the fur on the face. Like the fur, like where the eyes, nose, that it was more like reddish, like orangutan fur, and the fur around that, it would seem darker. I didn't because that's as most as I got from the time that I was willing to look at that. So I remember seeing that and just thinking, what is that? And then feeling, at the same time, feeling this just terror, and thinking to myself, oh, this Land Rover's not going to do this. This is not going to do it. Like, nope. And thinking at the same time, that thing should be here already. Like, that's how big this thing can just go over these fences. This thing could just walk over and then fight or flight, like booking it, just slamming the door and booking it across. And it wasn't very far, like across this 2-lane road to the clubhouse. But I booked it, and I'm thinking the whole time I had this feeling of just like, oh, this thing's I know it. This thing is probably right behind me. This just dread terror of like, and just, it didn't grab me, but in my head, I just felt like, oh no, I'm done. Yep. And I get into this clubhouse, and I remember like closing the door and looking around this place and thinking, oh, this is not big enough. Nope, this isn't going to do it. And asking, and there was only a couple employees in there because it was like 10:30 in the morning. Does anyone have a gun? Now, never would you hear these words come out of my mouth, much less before an interview. Like why would I? That's crazy talk, right? But here I am asking this and telling there's something out there. There's something out there, So we go back, an employee and I, in fact, the person that did my interview, and I went across to the parking lot, and there's nothing there. Like, there's trees, but not that tree. And and not like, and I'm trying to tell him, no, there's something there, man. Like, I didn't get that job. But I was scared enough to go all the way to I-5 and take I-5 home. And I was scared. And I remember calling my boyfriend, telling him this, and he's like, oh, yeah, you saw Bigfoot. And he was a big hunter. And I'm thinking, what? So Bigfoot's like a thing? Like it's a thing, right? Like that's a thing? I thought they're way out there. What? And him and his family were pretty nonchalant. Like, yeah, they're out there. It's a thing. We just coexist. We do, that's it. And so, yeah, that's kind of like the, my experience, I guess. I've never felt anything like that after. Throughout my life, like when I reflect on it, I'm thinking, God, did I make that up in my head? Like maybe I'm on that up in my head, but I didn't what keeps me in check is that feeling of terror. That was a feeling of terror. Like, I don't even understand that feeling. That was real, so even if I second guess what I saw, which I don't really, but like, let's say I do, that'll keep me in check. And, yeah, so that's it. I don't know. Like,
That is incredible. Was that your first interaction with a Bigfoot, do you think?
Yeah. And I'm half Sioux. So I don't know if that, I mean, some people are like, oh, you're half native. Like, you know, and I'm like, I don't know if that has anything to do with it. But yeah, that was my first, and to my knowledge, only interaction that I have like had that was clear, you know, because there's no mistaking that. Whatever, it was huge. It was massive. Freaking massive, man. I don't understand.
You said you were half Native American?
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you know specifically what tribal background you have?
Yeah, Fort Peck out of Montana.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm Sioux. But I was telling my like boyfriend at the time, and kind of reflecting on it later. He was like, "Well, you're half Native." You know, he's like, "I've been hunting with a lot of Native friends. You know, and they seem to like he had a lot more experiences with it than I did. But I was so like, because to me, it didn't really Rotsky. It didn't really like affect my life after, in the sense of it didn't like I still camping. It didn't. I wasn't more scared of being out in nature than I was before. But I was 50 to 75 yards away from that. If I was closer, I would have probably crapped my pants because there was no, I was super scared. I mean, I don't even know if scared encompasses what I felt.
Oh, absolutely. And so it sounds like you were able to have a good look at its face for at least a few seconds, right?
Well, I mean, I don't know what a good look is. I mean, I saw the face. Mm-hmm. I saw that the fur around the face was darker than the fur in the face, if that makes sense. I mean, like, you know, like the immediate fur, like that was behind the eyes or around the eyes, and like the nose and the mouth, that was reddish, and the fur around that was darker. And then it was dark, almost like, I don't even know, like I would say super dark brown or possibly, you know, dark enough where I thought it was a tree, right? And with a trunk until it unfolded, you know? So like pretty dark. And the arms because you could see the arms because they're kind of bow-legged from the body, if that makes sense. I don't know if that makes, you know, they weren't hanging straight, like compressed. They were kind of out. And you could see the hands kind of, or whatever it was, go below, like to the second part of the leg, if that makes sense. It went down. And I remember thinking, like, what is that?
Were you able to see it actually walk away then?
No, I bailed way before that. I don't even know what happened. Yeah. I mean, I just remember seeing this thing unfold, looking at it for a nanosecond and saying, oh, what the, you know?
So seeing it unfold is a really, really interesting way to put that. Have you used that description because of a certain way it was moving when it stood up?
Well, I mean, the tree unfolded. It's not like, I don't remember seeing it like being knelt down and like, you know what I'm saying, standing up. But again, like I wasn't aware that I had to pay that much of attention at that moment. You know what I'm saying? Like I just was sweeping around. All I remember is this tree unfolding. Like suddenly one part of the tree extended and became two longer parts of the tree, right? You know what I don't know if I'm describing this right.
No,
like,
you're good.
Yeah. Yeah. And then arms came. I mean, as it unfolded, then as I'm looking at it unfold and standing up, then you could see these, you know, the legs and the arms and, and the head. And this all happened like at once, right? Like boom, boom. Like I don't know how long the actual seconds were, but.
Well, that and it's the other crazy thing about it is that you're not just parking a car. Your mindset is, okay, it's game time. I'm going to be interviewed. Here's all the questions they're probably going to ask me. I'm ready for this. So you're not prepared mentally to take in something like this, which is 50 to 75 feet away, a tree that what you think is a tree, but it's actually yards. A Sasquatch. Oh, yards. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Because it was 50, 75 feet. I don't even know what that would look like.
Absolutely.
You know, I wasn't, that's the thing. That's why I think it's interesting is because it, like, I mean, I listen to your podcast and I hear, you know, people talk about it sometimes and like some people get really into it, right? Mm-hmm. And I get that. To me, though, it was so incidental. Like, that's what makes it so, like to other people when I tell them, like, this didn't turn my life one way or another. It affected me, but like, there's no way I'm going to make this up, right? Because that's how incidental at that moment before it became something of matter, if that makes sense. You know, I was there for an interview. I wasn't there for, you're right, I wasn't in that mindset.
Right.
And that's what makes it so odd to me, that like I wasn't there to go out and hunt one down or research or talk about it, or you know, I was there for a totally different thing. And that's, you know, so yeah, seeing that is like, why would that happen? Why would that? Obviously, why would it stand up right then? Like, sometimes I question that, like, why? Because it seems like if it had that much stealth to get there, and I don't know why it was. To me, I'm like, are they that close to I-5? I mean, but then I hear different theories on this Sasquatch thing, and which means, you know, that I believe is a little more plausible than just saying it's just a purely physical creature. I don't believe that, but I'm not a researcher or anything either, but I just don't see how it could be anything but supernatural, I guess, or phenomenal, you know, because it doesn't make, I mean, I didn't smell any smells. I didn't, you know, hear any, I mean, I wasn't listening for wood knocks or anything, but if it's something happened, all I know is this tree, yeah, it was unfolded, and it was weird because to me, I was like, well, does this have meaning? Is it supposed to have meaning? You know, like, it just was the scariest thing I've ever seen in my entire life. Dude.
Oh, 100%.
I don't know if you've seen one, but
well,
I mean, it's not supposed to exist. It's not supposed to.
Well, so we're gonna actually talk about that right now, because I want to clarify another thing that you've been saying. So when you first saw it, and you're like, "That's a fir tree." Did it actually look like a tree, or is it because you weren't expecting there to be a huge hairy thing there, and your mind was like, "Oh, it's a tree"?
Since it was late September, early October, I kind of saw the rusty, like, I guess I affiliated with the brand. I don't know, it camouflaged so well that when my eyes sweep, right, I'm not distinguishing anything. I'm just thinking they're all fir trees, right? I get out of the car, I close the door, I'm like, oh yeah, there's a line of trees down there. As I'm getting my resume in my hand, shutting the door, right? Or before shutting, just grabbing it and then sweeping as I shut the door, and then I see this, right? This fir tree just unfold because it was nestled within fir trees, right? That were going along this line of what I assume is a creek, right? Because there was yards and there was sprinkles, a smatter of trees, but this was a clear line of trees, right? That came down, and I assume go to I-5. You couldn't see I-5, but you could hear it, you know, on the side. And so I just assume, oh, that's got to be a creek or a stream. I mean, I'm not a forestry person, but because why wouldn't there be large trees anywhere else?
Right.
But, you know, I mean, there are a smattering of them, but not like how it seems like. Maybe they're getting extra water. I don't know. But, yeah, I assumed it was a tree because it was within this line of trees, you know? So, and then when I saw the tree unfold and become twice, now again, I'm 50 to 75 yards away. So I'm looking down on a kind of a slight up from a point looking down, right? It's not super up, but like, because I'm in the parking lot's on a knoll, right? Pushed up with a mounded dirt, whatever. So it's kind of looking down on perspective and seeing this tree double its size or size and a half of that size. And then as it's unfolding and standing up, I'm seeing then, oh, wait, it's got arms on it, you know? And this is like happening instant, like boom, 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 you know, like, what is that? What is that, you know? And then seeing the reddish fur and the darker fur, which covered its body, but you could see the arms because they were a little bow-legged to the body. Mm-hmm. You know, if that makes any sense?
No,
it's not real. But
it absolutely does. To answer the question that you had earlier, so the one thing that comes close to a visual is when I was in Oakridge last July. Do you know where Hills Creek Reservoir is down there?
Yep.
Yeah, so you know how there's that road that's like north of the reservoir and you can drive down it forever?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I was driving down there the last night before I flew back, and I'd had a lot of things happen. I had to go to the hospital for my legs and all that jazz. And so I was like, you know, forget this. I'm just going to get a burger and go out and eat at a boat ramp or whatever and see what's out there. So as I was driving, a gentleman at the festival had said, hey, if you're wanting to see one, just say in your mind, I'm ready to see one, pretty much, right? Seems easy. So as I'm driving along, I was like, you know what? Whatever. And in my mind, I said, I'm ready to see one. The second afterwards, I'm driving by a pine tree that has covered with vines on the front of it. And there's no joke, a silhouette of a 7 to 8 foot tall Sasquatch. And that, which is like, I can't even say it without laughing because I'm just like, it sounds crazy. Right. And then half a second later, it just disappears. Like the silhouette disappears and it's just vines. And yeah, so when I heard yours, I was like, oh, that's kind of weird, right? So
right.
Yeah.
I mean, I have a lot of friends that live in Oakridge and that are from Oakridge, and I mean a few friends, you know, and they have had their own experiences up there. Like, you know, I had a friend, and she has her family has a bunch of private land up there, and she and her boyfriend went camping on the land, like, and it's private, so there's no one else on there, right? She knows this for a fact. And some bipedal thing walked by their tent, and she said in the stench that she had, she's like, it was just horrific. And we saw this thing walk by and then walk by again and brush up against the tent. And she said they were scared crapless. They had guns, but she's like, we just sat in the tent and were freaking out, and, you know, and then waited till daylight and then booked it out of there. She told, you know, her family about it. I don't know what happened, you know, but there's a lot of stuff that I understand that happens in Oakridge and just around, like, I mean, from here also to the beach, you know, Florence, and back there, I think there's some people, I don't know. It doesn't, like in Pacific Northwest, it's like, I mean, it seems to be a pretty acceptable thing, the way, you know, the attitude that I kind of got it. Like,
Absolutely.
People don't think people are crazy here. It's just, yeah, they exist. We coexist with them. You know, I mean, like, I haven't talked to my tribe about this because it just hasn't come up. It's not in the conversations or when I, you know, go there because I don't live there, you know. It's just,
Sure.
And I should bring it up because I don't know what our take is on it. You know, I don't know what the Sioux has on it, and that sounds really horrible. I'm sure.
Yeah,
But,
I mean, if I was in your position and having that heritage, I would definitely say yes, go for it. I'd be so interested, you know, to see what you know,
the tribe's relationship.
exactly. So let's get back to your encounter a little bit.
Okay.
So you've pretty much kicked down the door, and you're like, "Hey, where's the gun? I'm in trouble."
Yeah.
What's the well, not really. I kind of made that a little bit, you know, I kind of amped it up.
But that's really literally in my head. Yeah.
So what was the reaction of the people that were in there? Like, oh, there's another person saw a Sasquatch and they went crazy, or like where they just freaked out as well?
Well, there's like two employees in there. I think one was like, I think that like one was in like the one was like a golf pro, like, you know, because they were dressed in, you know, a golf pro, like slacks and stuff, and the other was a manager because they were interviewing me. So when I walked in there, literally running in there, right, 10:30 in the morning, so it's not crowded, right? And they're the only two in there, and I'm slamming the door behind me, and I'm like, I'm thinking in my head as I look around, oh, this place isn't big enough. This is not going to do it, you know. And that's when I asked, does anyone have a gun? And I'm like, there's something out there, because they're looking at me like, what? I'm like, listen, there's something huge out there. I saw something out there. There's something out there. And the person that was interviewing me walks with me and said, no, we don't have a gun. I'm like, please, dude, I wouldn't go back out there alone. I'm like, I'm parked out there, man. You know, and I'm realizing I realized this before I even asked that, like, this is pre-interview. Like, what, this is ridiculous. Like I sound crazy. Like, I sound like a crazy person asking if anyone has a gun. You would never hear those words come out of my mouth in general, you know, much less before a job that I want to get, you know. So that's how scared I was. I don't think I've ever uttered those words since then. Does anyone have a gun? I don't think that's ever come out of my mouth since then. That's how scared I was. And that's the terror. Anyway, I wasn't, I mean, that's not where my go-to is, you know. Does anyone have a gun? I've never been put in that situation where I've even had to say that, you know.
Right.
But here we are, right? This is where I'm at, because we're in fight and flight. I never really understood fight and flight until that moment I saw that. When I saw that, there's a gut check terror. I don't know if you felt it, but there was some kind of terror that's this dread, you know, like when you get past the what is, I don't understand. My mind can't wrap it around what I'm seeing, because it's so huge, it's so massive, that I can see it from my point of view. It is so big that there's no way you couldn't see it, now that I know what it is, you know? Like, when I saw it unfold, I didn't know a tree, like, well, we're at a new height here. Okay. This tree seems to get a lot taller. Great. And it scared me so bad because even when I asked for a gun, like I don't know what could possibly defend you against that, except maybe, a ball. I don't even know. I don't even know. Like, I don't think there's a gun that's going to take something like that down in one shot.
Probably
and I'm not an artillery kind of person. I don't know. Maybe if you did it like, I don't know. And I'm not down for that. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that in the aspect of that's how big it is. That's how big it was to me. Like, yeah, this isn't a bear. This far exceeds the height of a bear. The massive, that it was massive. And I think that I've only used that term in relative to boats or ships, right? That's how big it was. And I remember the people there, they didn't think I was super, the person that interviewed me was like, came with me because that's how freaked out I was out to that parking lot, and it wasn't there anymore. And then, of course they did the interview, but I was in such a state, like I wasn't crying but I was just in a it wouldn't have mattered. You know what I'm saying? Like my mind was in a different, like, what is that? What was that?
So let's talk about that hypothetically for a second. So I'm trying to put myself in the owner or the interviewer's shoes. And do not take any of this personally. Okay. So someone comes into my establishment and they're like, I saw a Bigfoot, get a gun. I'm going to say, get out of my place. I'm calling the police, right? I want you out of here.
Yeah.
But they took it seriously and they're like, okay, let's go look at it. That kind of makes me wonder, do they know something too? And they're like, oh, it's happening again. I don't know. That's kind of a hypothetical, but okay. So from that standpoint, the person, there was two people in there. The person that came out with me that did the interview for me, this wasn't like, they didn't seem fazed by it. They walked, they didn't say, what, do you need to call 911? What do you mean what's out there? Because normally I think people would have said, I'm calling the cops. Screw this. I don't care. Just stay in here. Right. But they didn't. This person was like, okay, let's go check it out. Walked into that. So it seemed rather in a normal, like, it wouldn't. And when I mentioned it to my boyfriend, he was like, oh yeah, you saw Bigfoot. And he hunts. Like he at that time, he was a huge hunter. Him and his whole family would take weeks and go in Oregon, and go hunt. Like, and I'm like, they were so casual about it. His whole family. That's really like, I'm like, oh, you see what? This is a thing? Like, oh, so Bigfoot, they're here, right? Because I always thought that they were out there. Never, what? And he was like, yeah, they're here. I've always known it. I don't even know if he had his stories of his own. He had experience of his own, but I don't think that I was in any kind of mindset to listen to it because I didn't understand like how this could be such a casual thing. Right.
But here, like, it is a casual thing,
No, it is.
County with Oakridge, it's a super, because I think people believe like they exist, we exist. That's just how we roll, like we're not trying to mess with them.
Yeah.
They're not trying to. My boyfriend at that time was a huge hunter. He wasn't like, hey, I'm going to go bag one of them. That's not where his mindset was. His mindset was like, yeah, they're there and we're here. And that's it.
It's wild stuff. Listeners won't get it unless you go out there and you experience talking to locals and you're like, okay, I get it. Like everyone has had something happen and they're like, whatevs. Yeah.
Yeah. It's, I think it is, I've had a lot of people I've talked to here, like, that I have friends and that I've talked to about it. They're like, yeah, I've had my sighting. It seems to be a lot of sightings. It's maybe in this area. I don't see why there wouldn't be, especially from here to Florence. There's a lot of signs. There's a lot of, the woods, they're deep woods. If you go about Oakridge, they're deep woods,
Yeah.
Those woods go on forever. You could go on forever to all the way to Mount Hood in that whole area, so, I think it was pretty cool. Like, I'll never forget. I didn't know it was such a rarity to see one, honestly, until I, was talking about it. And it wasn't that I didn't talk about it for a long time. It was just pretty incidental in my life, like, hey, I still camp out. I'm not scared. It didn't hinder me. Frankly, the 411 missing thing frightens me more being out in nature than Bigfoot does. And I don't know if they're correlated or not, but that is a phenomenon that scares me way more than hiking by myself out there.
Oh, absolutely.
Than rolling into Bigfoot. I feel like that Bigfoot could have killed me if it wanted to.
Mm-hmm.
If it wanted to, it could have got to me in another second. It would have taken nothing but 3 or 4 strides for that thing to get to where I was. And I often think, like, did it see me? It had to have seen me. I saw it, right? There's no way. And like, why would it do it at that exact moment? It could have. I don't know. I don't know if there was a meaning behind that. If there wasn't, it's just, I've never seen anything that huge in my whole entire life. I didn't think things could get that big alive, you know? I didn't understand. I don't understand how big. I mean, it was probably like 9 feet tall. And I just don't understand how something can get that huge, you know, and silent, I guess. I mean, I don't know. You would assume something would make pretty loud noise, right? To get to, I mean, I was sitting in my car for a moment, right? Like getting my resume together, you know, before I got out of the Rover. I mean, I don't know. There's I-5 by it. That's pretty loud. I don't know. And there could have been more around. I just remember I bailed.
Exactly. Based on, you know, what you saw from the distance away, 50, 75 yards, right?
Yeah.
Could you get a feeling as to if you would say it was something that was more human or like something that was more like a big ape standing out there? Could you get any feeling for that?
If it was more human or ape, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, just in looks alone, yeah.
It had a knee, what's the word? It had it looked more human in the face. It looked more human, right? Like old school human, you know, like a broader, I mean, and again, this is just a nanosecond. I mean, I'm just trying to think it's like, you could see it looked like orange fur, right? On the face. It was lighter than the rest of the fur around it. It just seemed oranger, like lighter. And I could see the eyes and the nose and the mouth, and because that was to where I could see, you know, like, okay, so the lighter fur is around the face, right? Because that's what made the face to me, because it was so huge. I'm like, oh, okay. As I'm defining, and this 1 second as it unfolds, you can start to see the shape of the arms. They go seeing below the hangs below. And I can't say that if I saw the knees or not. I can't say that, because all I remember is that I'm like, oh, that hangs low. It kind of like almost kind of a slumping forward maybe, but I don't know. Again, we're talking, you know, and then a reddish fur, and like, I would say I didn't see it. I don't know if I can make the distinction. I would say it would be more human if I would. I would have to, if I had to choose in the face, in that area, it would be more human. But I mean, only because it just had a broad, like the chest was freaking huge, you know, like freaking massive. Like it had to have been 3 or 4 feet across that chest. It was huge. I've never seen anything that big. I've never seen anything that huge in my life.
So there's no athlete out there that comes close to what you saw.
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
No, and I met Shaq in person, okay, because my uncle knows him. Anyway, no. There's no mistaking it's a bear. There's no mistaking it for anything other than what it was. And again, at that moment, I didn't go right to, oh, that's Sasquatch. My mind at that second went to, what is that? That's what I kept asking myself. What is that? With a few curse words, you know, like, what is that, man? You know, what could be? And then just this feeling of dread, of like terror, and like, oh yeah, it's a fight or flight. And then, there's no question. Yeah, it's good. It has to be right behind me, you know, because that's how big it is. I mean, that's how fast it would only take 2 or 3 strides for that to get up over those fence lines and up here. I mean, there's no way that's how big it was. And so, I mean, I don't understand. I don't know when people that see it, there's just, when people say, oh, you saw a bear, because I have told a couple friends where they're like, oh, I bet it was a bear. And that annoys me, because I'm like, I've seen both grizzlies and black bears in person, you know, like I mean, I wasn't shaking hands with them, but, you know, seen them out in nature, not on television, right? So like, that's no bear. That far exceeds any kind of bear. And besides, you can see it's not a bear body. That chest is huge. That's like a massive, like, that's a chest. You know what I'm saying? That's not like a bear's, like, there's a difference between an abdomen, I feel like, in a chest. I don't know. There's no way you can not have, it's a person, you know, that's huge. That's what I thought. Like, it was a huge person that, like, had bull-like kind of arms. That was, I don't know. It was huge.
Exactly.
And it wasn't like, it didn't remind me of an ape. It right away. It reminded more of a huge, massive, furry person. What the F is that? You know? And for some reason, things are like, I just got the impression that it saw me. And I don't know why that is. You know? I just got an impression that it saw me. And I don't know if I made that up in my mind. Maybe I made that over the years. That maybe I would like for it to think that it saw me. I don't know, to be honest, But and I don't tell very many people that, honestly, and I don't know why I'm telling you that right now. But I mean, I guess I got the impression that it saw me.
Absolutely.
Not as a morsel or anything, but
it just was aware that you were
like,
there.
I see you. I got the impression that I see you, and that's the impression I got. It was neutral on it, and I honestly can say, like, you're probably the second person that I've ever told that to, and because I think that, to me, that goes a little to the crazy side, right? So I just kind of tend to stay away from that, But in all honesty, like, that is the impression, and by impression I mean that is the, like, not, because I'm not hanging out with it, so I don't know. You can't give me, like, expressions that give me the impression, right? Because I'm not hanging out that long. We're not hanging together, right? This is a split second, I'm out, right? But that's the impression I got, that I see you. And I don't know I don't know if that makes any sense.
No, I think it does. Yeah. No, it does.
It seemed to, to me, it seemed to want to get, if this is the case. I don't know if that's the case or not. I could be just thinking that, I could just be like, oh, maybe I wanted to have the impression that, but I mean, it seemed to be the case that I got in that split second that I see you. It saw me, but more, if that makes any sense. That's the impression that I got, that it saw me.
When you said, I got a follow-up question for you here. When you said old school human, and not to put words in your mouth, but are you saying like kind of Neanderthal? Okay, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah, Neanderthal. Gotcha. Yeah. Okay. Because that's the look that I feel like that's where it went. Yeah. It wasn't an ape that I saw in the face. It wasn't that. It may have been a fur, but it wasn't that mannerisms on the face. It were not mannerisms, but you know what I'm saying? Like, that wasn't the impression I got. If you were to ask me, I would have been in person. But a Neanderthal, like, because illegal, I don't know, man. I only saw it for a split second, but that's the impression I got.
Right. And
by that's a different impression by what I meant before.
And just in case you notice details, but it was very quick and a long ways away, but were you able to notice anything like how the eye looked, if it was just a black eye, or did it actually have whites around the eye? Were you able to see anything like that?
No, I did not visit. I can't tell you that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a long ways. So.
Yeah, and as I'm talking about it, this is more than I've description that I've given. To even, I mean, like, talking to friends, like, this is more than the description, because I'm remembering a little more, but no, I've never really thought about it this hard, like as I am talking to you, because this is not something that I don't not talk about, but it's not something that I make a point of talking about.
Yeah, absolutely.
If it comes up, but yeah, because it's still pretty incidental, but I think it's cool now.
No,
because
it's
a
super
rarity.
cool.
I didn't know.
Is this area known for anything else weird besides Bigfoot? Anything that's reported through like town stories, or like, I heard this type stuff?
Well, 2 years ago, so we have a Eugene Weekly, which is a newspaper local, for Eugene. It's just kind of like out and about kind of deal. 2 years ago, 2 summers ago, they had a missing 411 in there about all these people that went missing out of the Oakridge area, back in there near the reservoir and stuff. No, nothing, just disappeared.
How many
out there
people?
For a hike, never. Well, they only mentioned 5 people in the Eugene Weekly, I believe. And I believe that, I mean, you could probably look in the archives, or call Eugene Weekly up. Yeah, because it was not this last summer, but the summer before. And it was, I believe that the title of the article was Missing 411.
Oh,
in the Eugene, and it was 5 cases. I believe 5 cases, because the reason I remember that is because that's when I started getting this Dave Pilates Missing 411 2 summers ago. And that's why it caught my eye in Eugene Weekly. And I'm like, that's like 40 minutes away from here. What? So, and also on top of that, I had a friend who works in Lane County. She's still a friend of mine. Well, let's just say there's a lot of disappearances. Yeah, there's a lot of disappearances in Lane County. There was, in 2022, there were, how much was it? There was, I don't remember. It was enormous, but it was an obscene amount of disappearing people in Lane County. I don't remember what the figure was, but it was like extremely high. But yeah, there's a lot of people that go missing between here and the Oakridge area. A lot of people that go out and not because it's an I-5 corridor, although I'm sure that some of that has to do with it. and there's a lot of people in the Oakridge area, those back hills that have gone missing during hikes and stuff. So
it's not surprising.
And other than the Bigfoot thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. And I don't know how much Bigfoot correlates with that, I mean, because it could, right? I don't know. I don't know anything about them, really, at all. I don't know. So, or it could just be, I don't know if you think about J. Paul. I don't know if you've heard about that, but the missing 401. But I find that, or if that's the reason people are missing, or it could be people taking people. I don't know. But and 3 months ago, if you look on the news in Eugene, 3 months ago, we had 3 orbs that went over.
Yeah,
Eugene
by
area,
the airport.
And
yep.
2 flights. Yeah. Yep.
No, it's a super weird area. There's also a report that you can find where I'm going to do my best to recount this. I'll have it linked in the description. But pretty much a guy was on a mountain west of Oakridge, and
west of Oakridge.
He stumbled, I can't remember the mountain name, but he stumbled into what he thinks is an orb, and he started to go through it, and like an arm pretty much reached out and tried to grab him and said, "Hey, gotcha." Or it's a really, really weird story. And
really?
Yeah. You got to read it. It's a fun one. But I've been trying to track the guy down for a good half a year. Would not be surprising. I mean, there's so many weird things going on in the Willamette National Forest and then down by Cottage Grove. And I mean, Sharps Creek and Delaney Lake, any place you go to, there's weird stuff going on. But
do you, just out of curiosity, what do you think about that missing 411? Like, what do you think about it?
Well, I'm not probably as deep into it as you are, but I have watched the Hunted documentary a while back. There's a lot of stuff that you really can't explain, right? I mean, the clothes being found folded, or I really don't know. I don't know if you can say it's all Bigfoot related, but I think that the things that are being found and written down and noticing the patterns, it's not just something that's happening by itself. That's 100%. I mean, there's too many too many weird patterns that come up for it just to be like, it's just happening. These older gentlemen with certain types of heritage are going out into the woods, and German name. Yeah, German, right? It's just so weird. It is really weird. So
is that a thing? Yeah.
Yeah. But
it's weird.
I don't know. We'll
see. If you look at it, that's what's happening around here. Yeah. Anyway, I hope that maybe, are you going to be at Sasquatch Fest?
Yeah. I will be out in Oakridge again this July for the second Sasquatch Summer Fest, and that'll be a great time. I'm really looking forward to it. So.
Yeah, I saw a poster about it the other day.
Oh, heck yeah. Nice.
Yeah. Oh, well, anyway, I've got to go. Is that okay? I got to get
going, we have,
cool.
We've definitely had more than a great chat. I appreciate you coming on. If your friend ever needs to talk to someone, I'm available to talk to her. If she needs to just be like, hey, I don't know what happened and I need to talk to someone who can try to understand, I'm available for that. So just throwing that.
Well, what do you think? Yeah. Yeah, I don't understand. I mean, just curious real quick. What do you think about that? I mean, do you think that Bigfoot's just all human? I mean, not all human, but all flesh and blood? Or
right now,
you think it's a phenomenon?
Right now, I'm at the point where I think it is some kind of flesh and blood thing that can do a lot of stuff that normal science can't explain unless it's like fringe science. But if I was to see something, I could be easily, like, I'm at the point where I am trying to figure out stuff too, right? But man, if I saw something weird, I could totally change the way that I look at things, no problem. So, yeah,
right,
yeah.
I think it's kind of weird that none of us. I mean, other than like that one, whatever film, like. I mean, no one's got a really good film, Mm-hmm. I mean, people get good films, but it just seems like they're pretty elusive, it seems.
Oh, exactly.
And
exactly.
They're pretty good at it, I mean, I get it.
Absolutely.
we're not a great race, you know? So I hope that my whole thing is, I hope, I wish people just let them be, you know? Like that might something that they've been here they've been here a lot longer than we have. They've got some stuff figured out, maybe, or at a different level than we are. I feel like, I feel like either way, from a native perspective, I know that generally speaking, natives just let them be, they do their thing. We do our thing, because they're going to do that anyway. They seem to have they seem to have pretty good control or grasp on what's going on here. Sure. And they can do their own thing without, messing with us or getting messed with. I don't know. I know that the St. Helens, when they erupted, I've heard stories about up near Mount St. Helens, that they found some bodies, but I don't know if that's true or not, with the Bigfoot deal.
I would love to talk to the person that there might be some person that's still alive out there that had a visual or something. I'd love to talk to him, but it has been such an interesting chat with you. Thank you, Delaney, for sharing about your sighting down there just north of Cottage Grove in Cresswell area. And keep me up to date if anything else, you hear anything else weird down in that area. And thank you for coming on the show today.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
Just wanted to take a minute to say thank you for listening to this episode of the Bigfoot Society podcast. Delaney's encounter is one of those stories that will stick with you, not just because of the sighting, but because of the sheer terror that she felt, the kind of terror that makes you question everything you thought you knew about the area that you live in. If you enjoyed this conversation, please subscribe, share, and hit the bell icon on YouTube so you don't miss any new episodes. And if you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, make sure you're following the show. And if you could leave a review, it helps more folks find us. Now, if you or anyone you know has had a Bigfoot encounter, especially in Oregon or near places like Oakridge, Cottage Grove, or Eugene, would love to hear from you. So please drop me a line at bigfootsociety@gmail.com. And don't forget, Sasquatch Summerfest is coming up July 11th through the 12th in Oakridge, Oregon. And Bigfoot Society listeners can get a 2-day pass for the price of 1-day admission with code BFS at checkout. Tickets are now available at www.sasquatchsummerfest.com. And thanks again for being part of the Bigfoot Society. Until next time, keep your eyes open, trust your gut, and never stop asking what else might be out there, and see you in the woods.